Hello, welcome to this next video in this series, Understanding Addiction. My name is Terry Lee Shield. I am host here on YouTube and over at Love School. This is the third video of a series dedicated to understanding addiction. If you haven't watched the first two videos, I really recommend you do that. It might be important just to kind of understand my perspective and how I am framing this understanding of addiction, and to really understand the three truths I covered in the last video that are going to kind of make this video make a bit more sense. So everything will be linked in the description for the previous videos. Make sure you like and subscribe because there are going to be more videos as well that'll go alongside this one. And if you click the notification bell, you'll be notified when they come up. If you've already found this and they're all been released and they'll all be on a playlist, I do recommend you watch them in order and take your time with it, because sometimes things can come up when we're going through this process, because I am bringing a brand new perspective or my perspective and insight into these videos, this series, from a holistic, nature-based understanding of addiction. So in this video, which is the third video, we're going to look at the archetypal energies of addictions, the identities, the roles that we play as addicts in order to embody, justify, live up to the expectations of the character that we create as an addict. This will not make a lot of sense initially, but I've just noticed that there's these patterns, right? As humans, we create, I'll not go off on too much about this, but we create an ego. We create like a mask that we show the world. And whether we're trying to hide our addictions from people or whether our addiction literally becomes part of our presentation to the world, we start to play a role. We start to play roles in all sorts of our lives. Just in day-to-day life, we play the role of, son or daughter, parent, friend, co-worker, a colleague. We play all these different roles in life, and our addiction becomes like another character, another role that we play. And when we're trying to move into recovery, if we haven't become aware of this role, the mask, and all of the ways that we fed that in our lifestyle, through our environment, through our relationships, in the way that we move, in the way that we think, in the way that we feel and respond to life, when we go through recovery, it can have like a massive ripple effect. And this is why at Love School, we look at like a holistic nature of recovery, because I didn't find it possible just to shift and tweak one little thing, because there were so many other connected parts of the recovery process. I would start to try and give up a certain substance, but actually there was a lot of things, connected going on in my life that was all linked to that one thing. And part of that was the identities that I had built up connected to it. Now, I will also link in the description some other resources, blogs and things that I've written about identity and the importance of identity for healing, for recovery, and how we need to be able to evolve our identities if we actually want to grow and change as a person. The other side of this identity thing, it's like an energetic blueprint, if you like. So in our essence, we have a spirit, right? We are more than just our body. And these archetypes of roles that we play can become part of our energetic nature, even though that's not who we truly are. So almost like the idea of like entities, people back in the day used to think of like addictions like being possessed, right? And in a way, I understand that, because we can feed the energy of an addiction so much, it's almost like we're taken over by a different entity. And that other entity is this identity that we create around the addiction. And like I say, that identity justifies a lot of behavior. It can feed our thoughts. It can feed how we think. And like I say, how we present in the world in different ways, and what we choose to try and hide about ourselves, or what we might show people to distract them. There can be a lot of different things going on with that. the energy then leads us, because we're like embodying this character, it then leads to this solidification of our habits and the patterns, which is what I covered like in the previous video as one of the truths, that our addiction becomes like full of cycles and habits. Our habits create these patterns and cycles. So understanding which identity or archetype of identity you might have adopted to feed your addiction is going to really help to start breaking down some of those habits and patterns. Okay, so that's what I'm going to cover in this video. I've identified 8 different archetypes. Now, there might be more. There might be some that I've missed. If this video expands, if you watch this a bit later, and there's like a different version of me, like, oh yes, and there's this one, I'll add them. But let me know in the comments, because if you're like me and you've built your life around addiction in the past, or it might be your present, you're probably going to recognize some of these characters, okay? And this is how different people create a character around their addictions, and they are archetypes. So like I say, there might be different nuances in the different behaviors and things like that, the different scene that they're in, or the different addiction, whatever it is. But these are just like overall types that I have noticed again and again and again when it comes to how people are in addictions. So let me know in the comments if you notice any that I haven't mentioned, and let me know in the comments any that you are, if you have identified yourself. Now, it might be that you've noticed you're playing a couple of these roles. It might be that you can't see yourself in any, and maybe need to check. But feel free to put that on in the comments. Okay, so the very first one are the hedonists. The hedonists love the high. The hedonists are all about the fun. Let's just keep having fun, no matter what the cost, no matter how much it costs, no matter what the consequences. Fun, fun, fun. We're just here to have a good time. Life's all about the party. You know the hedonists. I know you do, because they tend to get very famous. The hedonists love the attention. They just always want to be following that high. They're the ones that'll be at the beginning of the party till the very end of the party, potentially fueling the party. The hedonists will never give up, because they just need the high. Okay. The downside of the hedonists is they're probably the ones that go really into the deep dark hiding as soon as the high runs out. If it does, really bad, like, come downs or hangovers, that sort of thing. And it doesn't matter just about drugs here. I'm talking about anything. It can be like chasing whatever it is, gambling, sex, chasing the high, constantly needing the next thing, always want to stay up, 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 next, 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 go, 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 fun, fun, fun. Those are the hedonist type. The next type are the opposites. They're the nihilists. And they're like, nothing matters. Nothing that I do matters. I don't matter. Life doesn't matter. We can do whatever we want, and none of it matters. And I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to give it up. I don't care about myself, about the consequences, how I feel. The nihilists can be a bit destructive and also a bit aloof and nonchalant at the same time. Like, because this doesn't matter, because life is short, they're definitely not as following the high as the hedonists, okay? But very similar. They'll just keep going and going. They'll be the ones that that just carry on the behavior regardless of how many times it's been confronted with them. It'll be either shrugged off, or that deep can also be quite like a deep depressive thing, like, well, nothing matters anyway, so I'm just going to keep going. That's definitely the archetype of the nihilists, of nothing matters and nobody cares. The next one is the perfectionists. Now, I think this was my archetype. And the perfectionists cannot ever look bad. They don't ever want to look a mess. They don't ever want to face or confront those messy emotions. They want to keep going regardless. This can be like workaholics. Like, this was a bit like me. Like, I have to take this so I can keep this level of work. I have to take that so I can keep my emotions down. I have to always appear perfect and have to always keep going. Go, go, go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Don't want anyone to see any cracks in this mask. So rather than actually deal with one addiction, I'll just take on a brand new one to keep appearing perfect. Oh, I'm taking too much caffeine. Oh, let's have some weed to slow down the caffeine. Oh, I'm smoking too much weed. Oh, let's have a cigarette, have a perk up every now and then. Or, oh, let's have some alcohol. The perfectionists are constantly putting plasters over the cracks to try and potentially hide the addiction, cope with life, whatever it is. But the perfectionists, the drive and the energy of the perfectionist is to always try and appear like they're not an addict. The next one are the sadists. The sadists want you to suffer. Not necessarily you, but they're doing it because they've been hurt or because someone hurt them and they want them to suffer. So the sadists will use the addiction and justify it. I'm doing this to hurt you. I want to see you suffer. This could be a parent, could be an abuser. I'm going to destroy myself so you suffer. It's like a projection of the pain onto someone else, like as a punishment. Their addiction is basically a punishment of someone else. Then we've got the masochists. The masochists kind of hate themselves. They are doing the addiction because they want to hurt themselves. So either they think they deserve to suffer, they've done something wrong and they're punishing themselves. They have a lot of shame or guilt. And the addiction is a form of self-punishment. So the masochists will actually tend to get a lot worse and worse because they want to cause more and more self-harm. Again, they could have been really hurt. A lot of addictions can have an underlying current of pain, right? We talked about that in the second video. There can be like underlying wounds or driving forces, and the masochists are coping with this by hurting themselves. Because you hurt me, or because someone hurt me, and I can't, I have these underlying feelings of shame that I'm not good enough. I've internalized that to mean something about me. I'm going to hurt myself, punish myself for it. Next, we've got the denialists. Don't know if that's a word, I've just made it up. The denialists are in complete denial. They're in complete denial. They even have an addiction. They're in complete denial of the effects of the addiction. The thought process is it doesn't hurt anyone. There are no consequences to the addiction. There is no bad behavior. It's not a problem. The denialists are in complete denial of any of it. They might not even be able to see their addictions, even when confronted with the feedback and intervention, the reality of a consequence. They'll still be in denial that it has anything to do with them or their addiction, or that there even is an addiction there in the first place. It doesn't exist. The next archetype are the pleasers. And we talked a little bit about this in the previous video as well. Now, the pleasers are people who are doing the addictive thing or adopted an addiction to please other people because of other people. So in order to get a sense of belonging, they'll go along with the addiction. They might not have been interested in whatever behavior it was initially, but because a group of friends were, they've done it, and then they keep doing it even after they see a problem because they get the sense of belonging. It might be to do with inherited family behaviors, but it's basically because this is what someone else wants them to do. This is how they get their sense of belonging, that they'll keep doing the behavior. So for the pleasers, there can be a lot of codependency there, that they need to do that to get approval, or they get a sense of power or a sense of like belonging. And there's some sort of feedback coming from other people that pleases other people for them to adopt the role that they're in and to do the addictive behavior that they're in. Then the final one that I've got is the opportunists. The opportunists are the people who have realized they can exploit the addiction. So perhaps they can make money from it. They're often the dealers. They can exploit people. There's an opportunity here. I can get something from this addiction. They might keep up the addiction so that they can claim benefits, so that they can keep friends, so that they can make money. They do it because there's an opportunity of gain there. The addiction is actually benefiting them. You know, they see themselves as, yeah, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for them to succeed or grow in power or popularity, gain some resource, whatever it is. But the opportunists, they possibly weren't even interested in the thing until they realized what they could gain, and they do the thing because of what they can gain, really. And actually, it would be giving up the gains that's harder for them than giving up the addiction. There can be a lot of other roles and identities that can go into this entangled thing of addictions. I mentioned codependency. Sometimes when we get in like partnerships, you know, there's this like codependent aspect. There's enabling. People can enable each other in addictions. So one becomes a role to allow the other to continue its addiction. We can take on roles of like fixers. So even if you're watching this because the addiction's not yours, it's someone else, but because you'll identify yourself in some of these roles, you become a caregiver, caring for the person with addiction, meeting their needs, which kind of would, like I say, falls under like a pleaser role. But when we look at the roles and the entangled identities in addiction, there can be quite a few things going on. I think I'm going to leave that video there because I would really love for you to reflect now while this is like fresh for you. One, have you noticed any other identities that I have missed? Let me know in the comments. What are yours? Did any of them really resonate? I can see myself in a few of them, but I definitely, I think my main one was like the perfectionist thing. That was definitely my like drive for the addictions. And I can definitely point out a lot of my friends or people I've been connected with over the years in these roles and these archetypes. And even, like I say, I would spend a little bit of time just trying to get clear on the roles you have played, the mask that you present, and self-reflect on, what do I try to show to the world about my addiction or to distract from my addiction? What do I try and hide from the world about myself, about my behaviors, about the addiction? That's going to start showing the mask, the role, the identity that's created. And once the identity can become almost like this external thing and realize that, oh, I am behind this identity. The identity is not me. I've been playing the role of this identity. That's what we're starting to step away from in recovery. We become who we truly are. We recover ourselves away from the identity and the mask. If this bit resonates, like I say, I will link other content in the description for you to have a look at. Remember to like and subscribe. There's still more videos to come in this series. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video.